You're listening to The Roots, a podcast from Minnesota AMA District 23 ARMCA. I'm your host, Jackie Reese. Let's dive deeper into what makes our district so great. This podcast was prepared by an independent contractor and may not be the views of the Board of Directors of District 23 ARMCA or any of their sponsors or affiliates. Hey everybody, before we hear from hill climber Joel Falde, I just want to let you know about a couple updates at District 23 ARMCA. Our yearbook submission form is now open. Please submit your photos if you won an award by November 26th. And info on the banquets and tickets are now available on our website as well. Before we get started, I want to thank the sponsors of District 23 ARMCA that helped make this podcast possible. Fly Racing, Namura Technologies, Jacks of Spade, BCMX Adventure Park, Moto City Raceway, Burnbenders Raceway, and Motokazi Race Promotions. Welcome everybody to episode 18 of The Roots with Joel Falde. Joel, how's it going tonight?
Awesome. Doing great.
Awesome. We were just chatting a little bit. You're very excited to be on the podcast, a podcast listener, avid listener yourself. How's it going tonight?
Going great. Anytime I got to be down in the shop, I'm down in my little shop looking at my bikes, and now we get to talk about dirt bikes and some hill climbing. It's going to be a great night. I'm stoked.
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, you're a hill climber. One of the smaller disciplines in District 23 ARMCA, and I feel like it's not something that you just kind of, you fell into it, you came across it and you decided to do it. So where did hill climbing start for you?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. My family farms, and my mom and dad, they always rode road bike, and they don't drink. They've never drank. And when you're riding on a road bike, there's limited things to go do if you don't want to go to a bar, So years ago, they started riding to hill climbs because they only didn't work on Sundays. So they'd ride to the hill climbs and watch. And then my dad's like, I think I could do this. So then he bought it, I think an old Ducati, and started hill climbing and addicted instantly. My dad was addicted. Then I have a brother that's 6 years older. He started when he was 9. And then when I came along, I didn't have a choice. It was just in my blood already. So,
yeah, for sure. A family affair. So how did they find the hill climb races to go to? Were they District 23 races?
Yes. So kind of cool. My dad's uncle, Velmo, was a founding member of the Red Wing Motorcycle Club, who's had hill climbs for almost 70 years. I think it's like 60 some years. So he knew about it, and it was something that he always wanted to be a part of, and that's why he always had road bikes, so.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's something that's kind of understated for people, right? Like, oh, you have this opportunity, like maybe you don't want to race, but you can ride your bike there and enjoy the racing too. So I think that's really cool that that's how it started for your family.
And back then, a lot of people rode their bikes there and hill climbed the same bike that they rode there back in the 60s and 70s. So it's dual purpose, almost like a dual sport nowadays, probably.
Yeah, for sure. And that's how flat track, got their beginnings too, is similar thing. Like, oh, we'll just ride the bike to the race and and we'll race it. Yeah, that's really
awesome.
Cool.
That's why they're just gangsters. The old guys are so tough and so cool.
Yeah, for sure. So you get into hill climbing. How did you progress over the years? You're still an avid hill climber now. How did that go throughout the years?
It was kind of funny. It's probably feel like it's a similar story to a lot of people, but I started really young, and my brother was actually very good. And it was just different back in the, in the 80s, in the 90s. It was people in hill climbing, they didn't ride a lot. It was just you went and you raced and you came home. And they were talented, but not like now. Like now people are putting hundreds of hours on their bike and they're ultra talented. Back then it was like, who's tougher, who's crazier, who's going to send this that should never be sent? And those people excelled very, very well. And my brother he could send it. And I just, my whole life, I've always been timid. And I always really wanted to be sure that it was going to work out the way I wanted, especially when I was younger. And when I was younger, I went to nationals. I had a few state titles, but never really excelled. And when I was 20, my brother went back to back. And that was back when you could only ride one bike in nationals. Now you can ride 3 or 4. But he went back to back AMA national champion, and he decided, I'm going to retire. I'm going on top. Well, kind of a lesson to kids these days is my brother did everything for me. I mean, I didn't know nothing. I still struggle, but I didn't know how to tighten my chain. I didn't know anything. I couldn't change a tire, nothing. When my brother quit, it was just hard for me to keep going. I was 20 and I just decided, man, I need to get some money. I need to figure out something to do in my life. And it was hard, but I just let it go. I just sold my bikes. I went out and, farming wasn't for me. So I had to find something, and I went and built a career. And man, people listen to this, if it never leaves you. Once you've raced dirt bikes, it's with you forever. You can't stop thinking about it. And then years later, I was in my 30s, and finally I just got to a position where I saved up a bunch of money. I put it in an account. I'm like, if I get hurt, this is what's going to help, everything go on. I'm going to race. I have a business partner. I talked to my business partner, and he's like, just chase your dream, So I started racing, and, just the love I had, it like amplified even more, and I dabbled, and boy, you start back and you're just awful, like everything that you thought you could do, you can't, it's like now I'm not 17 anymore. So I relearned, and fast forward a few years, I met my wife, who loves dirt bikes, and we just decided that, this is a big part of our life, is dirt bikes. And I really pushed. And that's what was kind of fun, is as I got older in life, I started to figure it out. I started to learn some tools on riding, just like I never learned. And I started to get good results, like really good results for me. And is that infectious? I mean, it's crazy. Like when you thought about something for so long, and then all of a sudden you put goals and you start achieving those goals. Oh man, like it's so, you can't stop, and it's still where I'm today. I feel like even at 45, I just feel like I'm not done. Like I'm never going to be Logan Sapala. I'm never going to be that, but I can be competitive. I can be racing with the super fast guys. And it's awesome. So I guess I probably rambled down there a little bit too much, but
no, that's great. It's a great story to hear, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people, when they turn 20, when they turn 18, when mom and dad might not be helping as much anymore, like they go through a similar thing where it's difficult, right? To continue
right.
doing it on your own dime and having that passion. So it's really great that you came back to it, and it means so much to you.
Yeah. And I try to tell people when I see them that, everybody always says, oh, I can't get hurt, I can't ride. And, it's a definite possibility that you could get hurt, and you got to come to terms with it. But the cool thing is you might not get hurt, and you might just have an awesome 10 years of your life that those memories can never be taken from you. Like people can try or whatever, but you can't. And it's so rewarding. And, I've been hurt. I've been hurt a few times, and nothing super catastrophic. But what's crazy is once you figure out that, hey, I can get hurt, I can heal, I can get better, and I can get back to it. It's like, all right, you just, you plan for that accident as much as you can, and you just keep pushing forward. And, I feel like that's people that really like love it, and like they, it makes them who they are. It doesn't affect you anymore,
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely in that boat, right? Like you fall down, it's about how many times you get back up. So very cool.
Yeah.
You talked about the good old days with your brother. What are some stories from over the years traveling and racing with your brother?
Oh man. So back in the day, we're talking 80s, 90s, we had a regular cab Chevy half-ton pickup with a 305 in it. It was like the low-geared 4-speed, like a farm truck. And my brother, me, and my brother's friend in a regular cab long box, we went all over. And all over for us at the time was Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois. And we thought that was traveling back then. But in those conditions, we had 4 bikes wedged in a pickup, And we just did it on a shoestring budget. And a lot of it was district racing, District 23, District 16, District 17. And, the real crazy stories that we've got from traveling now are pulling trailers. Is just anybody that's pulled a trailer. Now, whenever I get back, I ask people, how many trailer tires did you change? That establishes your trip. We were going through North Dakota a few years back, and we always drive through the night, and we drive in shifts. So if it's me and Logan and Kirk, we'll drive a tank. You get out, you just rotate around, so we just don't stop. And we're all sleeping except for my buddy Matt, who was driving. We wake up, oh, we lost a tire. Here we go, pulling over. We get out, we're walking back there, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this doesn't look good. I mean, we've seen a lot of tires. We call them Fender delete kits, where it just takes the fender and everything. We get back there, and all it is 2 spindles. There's no brakes. There's no tires. We're dragging frame on the interstate, and we're like, what happened, dog? Like, his nickname's Dog. What happened? And he's like, I don't know. He goes, I thought we just lost a tire. We're like, we don't have any tires on this side. So we couldn't find the tires. They're in North Dakota somewhere. I don't know what happened. But then I went on Insta right away because I like to jab people. And I took a picture and I said, oh, dog hit a bathtub on the freeway, just, being funny. We got to the race and everybody's like, did he hit a bathtub? Did you hit a bathtub? And he loved that, just getting razzed about that. But cool thing is just coincidence. We got on the smartphones, 20 minutes behind us, a trailer shop had everything we needed. We were back on the road in 2 hours. We put brakes, wheels, bearings, everything. It was crazy. It was unbelievable. So that, for traveling, that's definitely the craziest story that I've had. Oh, can I bore you with one more?
Sure. Give me one more.
Okay. We're in Logan Paul's super van, and it's Logan, his brother Luke, and his girlfriend Morgan. And we're on probably one of our biggest crazy trips ever. It was to California in the early spring, and going through the Sierra Nevada in the early spring, there's snow and a lot of it, and it's scary. And Logan has a 2-wheel drive van, and we borrowed this huge trailer that didn't have trailer brakes, and we're going through it's just snowing like crazy. We had to stop and get chains, all this stuff or whatever. We're going up the mountains, and Morgan and I are looking at each other, and I'm like, we're going downhill right now. And Morgan's like, no, we're going uphill. No, we're going downhill. We couldn't tell if we were going downhill or uphill, and to the point where Logan had to take his foot off the gas. And then he was a little unsure at some points. And that turned into the next 1,400 miles, an argument all the way home, as if we were going up and down at the point. But just crazy that the circumstances you find yourself in,
Yeah, no kidding. There's nothing that compares to traveling across the country, right? Like, there's so many incidences, of course. It's wild.
That's crazy. We're so lucky though. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We're in Wisconsin. We get in a vehicle, we can drive to Oregon. We have to ask permission from nobody. Mm-hmm. We just put diesel in as long as we want and get there, do our thing and come back. We're so lucky as Americans just to be able to do basically whatever we want. We're so lucky.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, just motorcycling in general is so freeing, right? Like when you're on the bike, it's like a freeing experience, but just having the independence to be able to go do the things that you want to do is, you wouldn't have those experiences without motorcycling. It's an incredible thing to have.
For sure. And you ride so many different disciplines. I mean, there's no wrong answer. Right. as long as you got a clutch on the left hand and a throttle that twists on the right, life's right. It's like, that's all you need, and you can even substitute a couple of those levers and it still works out just fine, so.
Yeah, it is. It's also like Logan and I had talked about this on his podcast, like just doing the different disciplines, how much that helps you improve as a rider. So I guess my question to you is, what else have you tried over the years?
I've always loved riding. And when I was younger, I never had a play bike. I only had hill climb bikes. So I'd be out like riding in the pasture with my extensions on. It's awful. It was embarrassing. If I had video back then, I'd be embarrassed for myself. But now I'm so fortunate to have a play bike, and I've always loved riding in the woods. And I never grew up in motocross. I never grew up doing gated starts. And it's so intimidating having those big starts, in motocross or even in hare scramble. But I just kind of I've been getting over that fear a little bit. And I got in, and last year 2 years ago, I did my first GP in Syracuse, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I ran the 40 plus V, and I actually did really good. And then the next year I'm like, I got to do that again. I got injured, all this stuff happened or whatever. But as soon as I got healthy, I got back. And this year I rode that GP again, and I did the 30 plus B and had another really good finish. But then my addiction was I did the border battle hare scramble at Hickston. Mm-hmm. I'm hooked. Like you find out like equipment matters. And luckily for me, I'm so fortunate to have friends that will help me. And they're like, they make bikes just for riding in the woods. Like here I am trying to bounce off everything in my motocross, my SXF, and you're just bounce off everything. And now I got a 300 with wood suspension, and I got tubeless tires. I mean, it changes you. Like it's unbelievable what you can do. And for me, like nothing will replace the thrill of hill climbing for a big crowd. But when you're on a single track and you're flowing and you feel invincible, whew, something's flowing in them veins. And I don't know what it is, but I mean, you just feel like you're Superman when you're just getting all that. And so I'm definitely looking to do more of that.
For sure. That's awesome to hear. And cool for you to get to do something different later in life as well.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
So while we're on the topic of bikes, you have a couple hill climb bikes, and yep. I feel like of all the disciplines we have in District 23 ARMCA, flat track and hill climb are the best like trophy bike disciplines, right? Like the coolest, the nicest looking bikes, like the most exotic. Tell us a little bit about your bikes and what you like to race.
So right now I have 3 race bikes. So the most typical is I have a KTM 450 SXF that's just got a ton of work done to the motor and suspension, but basically like a 450 that you would buy from a showroom. Then I also have a Husqvarna 450 that my buddy Kirk Mueller did everything on, and it's a Thumper Racing 490, and it's got a little nitrous bottle on there. It puts about 15 horse shot on it. And that bike, on the dyno, it makes so much power, it like blows the drum up when he hits it in full power. And we don't exactly know the top end power, but I mean, that bike's like 220 pounds. And I think we're over like 85 horsepower. It's an insane bike to ride because it's so nimble and so light. And I built that bike for the 40 plus class out west in the Rockwell Pro Hill Climb series. That's what I built that bike for. And it's like cheating. I mean, that bike is it's unbelievable. That's what's cool about hill climb is I built that bike 5 years ago, and it's still just as competitive today as the day that I built it. And it's kind of fun because it's expensive. Everything's expensive, but when you graduate it out over these years, it's not that bad. And I mean, boy, I look to my friends that go golfing and do other things, and everything costs money, but there's nothing more fun than hill climb. Then my last bike is an open bike, and that's a V-twin KTM Super Duke 990R. So it's their racing version. It's an older motor. It's really light. It makes pretty close to 120 horsepower, and it's about 340 pounds. And it's been a really fun bike. When I first bought the bike, I bought it used, and the guy said that it made 200 horsepower, and it was unbelievable. And we put it on Kirk's dyno, and it made like 70 horse. And we're like, no. But after years of just trying things, and Kirk is just a genius when it comes to that, we've never touched the internals on that motor, and we've went from 70 to almost 120 just from making things run right. And that's what I love about like hill climbing, and I'm sure flat track is the same way, is it's these people in their garages that are like out engineering these major companies. They're like, okay, yeah, this motor was made for this, but we're going to make it go uphill. We're going to go 500 feet as fast as possible. How do we deliver that power? And they figure it out. It's so cool. But that bike just runs on regular VP MR Pro 6, and it's been just a great bike. I'm actually lucky enough I'm building a new open bike this winter, and that's going to be an 1190 KTM. So a little bit newer version. The old saying, there's no replacement for displacement. We're going from 990 to 1190, and the motor should really, really scream. So we're going to keep that one and build another one. So if you want to try an open bike, Jackie, I might have one here for you. That if you want to, if you want to have Bay City at the motor climb, you want to throw a leg over a V2N, I might have one for you.
Yeah, let's I've had some shoulder issues, so let's make sure those are intact first, and then
Okay.
then we'll give that a shot. But I would like to try hill climb at some point. Like, it looks fun. And Logan had described it as, like the start of a motocross race, like just intense for a short period of time. And I'm like, okay, like I think I can do that.
Oh yeah. No. Well, like as a track rider or a trail rider, we're always doing laps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll get to that section where like you're going to pass somebody, or you're fast there, and you'll pick these little lines out to make it just hyper how quick you can get through there. That's hill climbing, but we all look at it, we all go up, we all try to pick our own line, we're all trying to hit these little spots, and it's super fun to watch people really talented how they'll decipher the hill, but then you'll have somebody do something completely different and it might work better, and that's what's kind of fun is a lot of the hills, they're one line, but other one, I remember the brick mine in North Dakota a few years back. Side note, I'm Logan Sapala's hype man, so I'm gonna hype him up here. That's my part-time job. But we were there racing, and Harold Woodell's there. He's like the GOAT. He's from the Midwest, unbelievable. He's just a little bit younger than me, just a great racer, won everything. And Logan and him, they're gonna battle it out. And Logan goes up and he picks this line, and I'm watching him. This big, huge V20, like lifts the front end and like contorts it and does this unbelievable snake line that nobody could even do it on a 450. And he just like butter, creams, just unbelievable, super fast. And I'm like, unbeatable, Harold comes up, and that's part that Logan lifted through. He hits the highest section and just shoots like 40 feet over all the rough stuff and lands and beats him by just like a fraction. Wow. And I was like, that's racing. Like, yeah, Harold's like, I can't do that, but I can do this, and I'm gonna see if it works. That's what's hill climbing is so fun, is you get two runs. You get to try something. If it works, you get to improve it. If it doesn't work, then you get to figure out what didn't work. And that's what's kind of fun, is trying to fine tune everything that you do. It's really addicting.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. And so do you guys just watch other people, or are you just looking at the hill when you're trying to pick those lines?
In the morning, he'll go up, and I like to walk every aspect of the hill. Anywhere I think I might want to go, I kick, I dig in the dirt. The more you race, the more you try to read the ground. And for our bikes, we adjust the length, we adjust the gearing, we adjust tire pressure. We can adjust a lot of things, and you're trying to make it as easy as you can to ride that bike. And it's hard to nail it right away. And like everybody's bike is a little different. So you'll watch people as to how they'll be affected through these areas. But if your suspension's better than a guy that you watch, like I'll watch people be like, my bike's not going to do that, so I'm going to try to do this. And then sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But that's what's so fun, is there's no secrets. It's like you're not just going into the woods and coming back. Everybody sees what you're doing at every point. Like you can't hide anything. It's kind of fun, but it's something I want you to experience. I think you would love it. I think that I wish I had a better vocabulary to put the words to it, but I think his whole shot analogy is really good. But like imagine doing the whole shot, and then you come back, you get to think about it for 20 minutes, and so does everybody else. And then you do the same thing, like right in the exact same conditions,
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So we've talked about your traveling, but we haven't really talked about where you're traveling to. So like you'd mentioned to me earlier, you compete in 3 of the 4 pro hill climb series. I guess my first initial question is, why on earth are there so many, right? Like in motocross, there's just one. Right. So why are there so many? And what are the pros and cons of each of those?
So my opinion, and this is just mine, the reason there's so many is most people don't want to travel that much. We're in the middle of the country, so everything is under a 32-hour drive for us, basically. But
a short drive.
Well, no, but I mean, people in California, if they want to drive to New Hampshire, that's a drive,
Right.
But I think that's why there's so many. What's kind of funny is I've raced all 4, but I only do the 3 just because there's only so many weekends for one, but they're all have their different things. The Ktm Super Series is the newest one of all of them. It's super fun, but that is a different format. It's only 2 classes for points. The one class is just side-by-side racing, and then the other class is an open bike class. And that's great for some people, not for others. It's meant to be a coast-to-coast series, but it's a shorter series where there's usually only 3 to 4 races in that series. And like what I've noticed is that series, it's based off of Matt is very big into social media, which is awesome to get exposure for riders and our series or our sport in general and the riders themselves. And then you take a series like the AMA Pro Series, which has been around that has been around the longest. That's primarily East Coast. So about the farthest west they come is Minnesota. They had a race at Millville a couple years ago. But that race, what's cool about that series and what I've kind of got addicted to is they're about a show. Like the AMA Pro Hill Climb, when you come, you're buying a ticket to a show. They're putting a show on for a crowd, and they are good at it. They are strict. You have to qualify basically to get in or have someone speak for you. How I got in was I raced District 23 and I raced the amateurs, and I finished high enough to get a provisional license where I could enter without anybody's, saying I couldn't. And then I got to race one less than half of the season. And excuse me, I got sidetracked. But it's very professional. Like they don't want just anybody to race. They want people that are there to put on a show. And it's cool because the races are 3 to 4 hours. They want you to be very professional. They want you to have pitch shirts. They want you to have printed awnings. If you can hand out, posters or things to people in the crowd, they have a t-shirt launcher. The best announcer in the world, Jamie Deere, announces all their races. But what's cool is they get huge crowds. The last race of the year, which is their biggest, there had to have been close to 7,000 people. Wow. And when I'm in the hole, the people are on the side of the hill. And when I look up, it's an ocean of people on both sides of the hill. You want to talk about getting you pumped. Like, I'm not going to half throttle this. Like, it's a big deal. But what's really cool in that is that crowd builds the purse for the riders. So every ticket that comes in, a portion of that ticket goes directly into the purse. Wow. And the better show you put on, the more spectators there are, the promoter makes more, the riders make more. And, we're not in it for the money, but man, it sure is nice to not have to buy the diesel or it pays for some parts or, whatever. It's awesome. And then the third series I race is the Rockwell Pro Hill Climb Series. And that's got the oldest hill climb in it because that's part of the Great American Hill Climb in Billings, and 104 years that hill climb has been going on. And that series is awesome for the rider. The hills are super technical. It is super fun. My favorite is the Big Sky Challenge, which is at Billings. They race 2 different sections. The hill is just awesome. It's super flowy. EnduroWorks had a little clip where they showed like 10 guys go through this little section. All 10 guys did a different rhythm, but it worked different for everybody, And that series, they get lots of riders, maybe like 70 to 100 riders in a class, but they just can't get a crowd. There's no crowd to those races, and I don't know why. I just, it's more geared towards the riders paying a bunch of entry and then they pay back, so it's kind of funded through the riders, which is fine. That's the way it's got to be. And then there's the NAHA, the North American Hill Climb Association, which I have done but I don't do, and that's primarily just west. That's basically a West Coast series. So
cool. Yeah, I think, right, like the norm for paying back, pro riders is funded by the racers, right? So I think it's really cool and really unique that the AMA is using ticket sales to give back to the riders. Like that seems kind of unheard of to me. So that's really cool to hear that they're about putting on a show and making you happy and making everybody else happy. High seas raise all ships, whatever that saying is.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's fun. Like at Freemansburg, which is in Pennsylvania, it was my first year going out there. And I think that there was probably like under just like 2,800 spectators. That's a lot of people. I mean, 2,800 people is a lot, you know? And they had a really good show going on. And when they get done, they close the paddock. So it's only riders in the paddock. When that gets done, they open that gate. I mean, probably 600 fans flood in and they have questions. I hand out these little bracelets and ask the kids what color their dirt bikes are and try to get them to buy dirt bikes and tell the parents their lives are better if they're on dirt bikes. And it's really fun. Like Jay Sahlstrom's a District 23 rider. He's been racing out there for years and he's made relationships with kids and fans. And the people are really in tune with the racing. It's super fun. They've been doing it for a long time and their recipe is, it's fun to be a part of. It's really fun.
Cool. So you mentioned you like to encourage kids to get into the sport, encourage families to get into the sport. What does family mean to you in hill climbing and motorsports in general?
Oh, it's everything. I love it. I was late to life to have children. I have two little girls, Lucille and Rose. Lucille's 4 and Rose is 2. And when I had the kids, everybody's like, "Oh, your racing days are done, and you're not going to be traveling." And my wife loves to travel, so do I. And my buddy Todd, Logan's dad, said, "It's not easy, but it's worth it. Like don't stop." And it's just little kids. It's hard, but like you all get in a truck or a van or whatever you got. You're locked in this box. We talk. We're doing it. We're silly. We giggle and we're traveling thousands of miles. I mean, and it gets you so close. My 4-year-old and 2-year-old, we went to Illinois, like a 5-hour drive, and they were like, "Oh, this is a short drive." And I was like, you just got to temper them when they're young. But I love having my family at the races and, watching my friends' kids and my kids play together at the races and they're riding around on their Stasic bikes or whatever. And I mean, that's what life's about, just making relationships. And I love all the time that we have to spend together. Life's busy, but traveling, like we're locked in this truck and we have to talk. We talk about everything. It's awesome. I mean, I think family is racing when it comes right down to it,
Yeah, for sure. Right. Like that's how you got into the sport. That's how I got into, dirt biking. I think that's how a lot of people get into it is, oh, my dad did it or my cousin or whoever. Like that's how you keep this going and then you make friends when you get there and that's what keeps you there. So yeah, I think it's very family oriented and really awesome community to be a part of.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So when I grew up, like we didn't have the internet, we didn't have cell phones, I didn't know anything. When I was a kid racing, I didn't know that there was a hill climb in Billings. I didn't know anything. All I knew was District 23 racing and District 16 racing. And I knew who Evil Knievel was, and he was a tough guy. I knew that Todd Sapala was the fastest person that I've ever seen ride a dirt bike. And now you fast forward all these years from when I was a little kid, Todd was in my wedding. Like he was my hero growing up. Like the racing kind of gave me a foundation. The same with you, the people you meet racing, the good people are the ones that stick to you because you want to be like them, it's so fun. And then you see the people you don't want to be like, there's unfortunately in racing, there's that 2% of people that then I can show my kids like, no, you don't act like that. You act like this guy or us, or whatever. And that's life. That's what you want to teach family, your kids, everything,
Yeah, that's really great that your kids get to come with you and your wife. Are the girls going to get dirt bikes at some point?
Well, I was.
Or do they have them already?
Well, they have a Stasic bike and they have their Striders. And my oldest, she likes going to the races. She likes it, but she's timid. She's a little timid. And I promised myself that I wasn't going to force it on them. I kind of want them to come to it. And, if it's not till they're 7 or whatever, that's fine. But I was going to ask you a question because my wife grew up riding dirt bikes and her family really wasn't into it. She was just drawn to it. And, when you were a young girl, what did you attach yourself to, or what was fun for you when you were seeing dirt bikes? Was there one thing you remember in particular when you were little that drew you to them?
Yeah, so I think it all starts with where I got my first dirt bike from. One of my dad's best friends, he had a daughter that outgrew her PW50. And so it was only fitting that my dad got that bike for me. And so he got it for me when I was too young to ride it, like 2 years old or something. So I'd just go out there and I'd sit on it, and we'd ride around our suburban neighborhood, our house, whatever. And it really wasn't until my parents made me pick a sport. I was in soccer when I was like 5, and I was, racing motocross at the same time. And they were like, which one do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to ride my dirt bike, of course. Like,
Awesome.
like it was like, when you give a kid a dirt bike, they're never going to say no, right? Unless they really don't like it, So I think just, introducing your kids to it, and maybe it's not hill climb, maybe they love riding in the woods, like trying all these different things, and if none of them stick, and they're meant to do something else.
All right, well, I think you've inspired me. I think what I need to do is I just need to have that little bike here.
Yes.
So I as a dad, like you're always like, I just want Lucille to come up and be like, I want this dirt bike, Dad, go get it for me, Yeah. But that's probably not going to happen. So maybe I'll just get one.
Yeah.
And it'll just be here and just make it available. I told my wife, like, I don't care what they want to do with dirt bikes. I just want them to want to do it and to want to ride, because I'm sure it was for you too. Like, you get this confidence, like when you're a young person and like you go out and you learn it. You learn how to control this thing, and it did so much for me as a little kid. Like, I want my girls to have that power. I mean, as a dad, I want my 16-year-old daughter to show her friends where it's, but it's like backing up from that. Like, but also I don't want to be that dad where I'm making her do something, and it's so sensitive,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess it doesn't hurt to have a bike in the garage, and if you don't use it, you can probably sell it for what you bought the P-Dub for.
Exactly. Well, now there's so many options too. I mean, kids are just spoiled. It's awesome. The bikes, I'm so jealous,
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about the early parts of motorcycling life with your kids. As you've grown throughout the years in the sport, why have you decided to stick with it, and why should other people stick with it as well?
Like what we've been talking about, and it's always easy to quit. Like especially like with us having seasons here. Like, you'll get into winter and you'll kind of get into a different rhythm, and when spring comes by, it's always just so hard to get everything lined up, to get out there and ride. And there's never been a time where I went out on a road and I've been like, I never should have came and did this, and for me, like, and everybody else, like, our lives are busy. Everybody works, everybody's got family, everybody's getting pulled. But man, when you're riding, like, everything seems simple. Like, I just want to go around that corner faster. I just want to go up that hill. I want to go higher than so-and-so did, and it's people that don't race don't understand, or don't ride, I should say, not race, but and unfortunately, not that many people race and not that many people ride dirt bikes. People don't understand. And like, I hear it all the time because of my age, and people always telling me that I should stop and I don't need to do this. And I tell everybody the same thing. I say, I'm going to do it while it's up to me. Right now, if I want to go riding, I can go riding. I'm going to go riding every time it's up to me. Hopefully that never changes. There could be a time in my life where I can't afford it, or, I'm not physically able, but it's made my life better. I just, when I didn't race, because I had that pretty long period where I didn't, my life wasn't better. Like, maybe I didn't have all this parts cost, and I wasn't on Dennis Kirk or whatever, buying stuff when I didn't need to be or whatever. But when you are racing, you're working a little extra hours to buy this. You're always looking to that goal. You're trying to get, I already know what bike I want to save up for, or there's a race here this year. I wonder if my wife and the girls can go to this. Like, racing just makes your life better, and riding makes your life better. And to reference my buddy Todd again, he's like, I've never seen anybody's life get better when they stop racing. And I mean, it's kind of sad, but it's kind of true. Like, it can change, and some people don't like it, and that's fine. That's different. But the people that truly love it, don't quit. Like, don't quit until it's your decision. Like, don't let somebody else convince you, because they don't know. That's not their life, you know? And it drives me, and you can't just get on your soapbox and shout everybody down when they're trying to tell you to quit. You just, oh yeah, you know. But no, it's like this, I get one spin at this life. If I do it right, it's way more than enough. I'm going to make sure I get everything out of it, you know?
Absolutely. I'm on the same page, right? Like, you got to do what you can. And, you know, it's a heck of a time to ride your motorcycle.
Oh, for sure. And especially how fast and light and cool they are. I mean, I barely even own a Kickstarter anymore. Life's so simple.
Yeah, push a button, you're ready to go.
That's right.
Well, Joel, thank you so much. This has been really, really fun.
Well, no, this has been I've been so stoked, and thank you for reaching out to our little community. Logan was on, Bodie was on. I'm so honored to be on this and to be a part of District 23. And just thank you. If there's anything that we can do to help, we want to help.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joel.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody else, for tuning in to episode 18 of The Roots. We will see you in 2 Mondays. Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Joel Falde. Thank you to the sponsors of District 23 ARMCA, Fly Racing, Nimura Technologies, Jacks of Spade, BCMX Adventure Park, Moto City Raceway, Berm Benders Raceway, and Motokazi Race Promotions. Thanks for joining us. Catch us every other Monday wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on our YouTube page.